Alright, so welcome to your asynchronous session for week number 2. For business math B, we're going to talk about lesson 9. So by the end of this, students will be able to calculate the value of inventory using 3 methods. Students will be able to calculate the cost of goods sold using 3 methods. So first we're going to go over some key terms. So we got inventory, which is the items that a business has on hand. Inventory receipts, the quantity of items or units received. Stock reorder point, the minimum inventory a business must have to meet its customers' demands. Issues, items that are flowing out. Average cost method, valuing inventory using the average cost of goods on hand. First in, first out, FIFO, the oldest inventory is sold first, so whatever we've had on the shelf for the longest is what we want to sell before we sell the new stuff. Last in, first out, LIFO is the most recently acquired inventory is sold first, so what we just acquired is what we want to sell first. So let's do some examples now. The inventory record for Stephanie's beauty store shows the status of lipstick. What was the opening balance at the beginning of April? So we have the opening balance for January was 200 and the opening balance for February was 240. So we need to figure out how to get the rest of them. So our opening balance is the number on hand of the previous month. So we're looking for April's opening balance. That means we need to know how much March had on hand at the end of the month. So if we look at the chart, the number on hand that March had, so like if January, for February it's the 240 that January had on hand. So now if we look for April, what March had on hand is what April's opening balance is. So that means that April's opening balance is 210. So the opening balance at the beginning of April is we got 210 lipsticks in Stephanie's beauty store. So another one. So we have again the lipsticks and we want to know now this time, this is a different year for Stephanie's beauty store, what is the number on hand at the end of April? So it's a little bit different. We don't want the opening balance, we now want what's at the end. So inventory equals the previous inventory plus receipts minus issues. So if we look at it for February, we have 240 on hand at the end of January, so that's the opening balance for February. So our opening balance for April is 210. So to get our inventory for April, we're going to take that 210 opening balance, we're going to add the receipts. So we have our unit receipts for April is 10. We're going to subtract our issues. Our issues for April is 120. When we do 210 plus 10 minus 120, we get an inventory of 100. So that means at the end of April, the number on hand at the end of April is 100. So go ahead, pause the video, and see if you can figure out what the number of hand is at the end of April for this chart. Alright, so now that you've had a chance to do that, let's go ahead and look at it and see if you got it right. So remember your inventory formula. So our opening balance for April is 600, remember. Our unit receipts is 50 and our issues is 120. So plug them in the formula, solve, and we get that we have 530 left at the end of April. So average cost valuation. The average cost method of valuing inventory is based on the average cost of the goods you received. So the formula for inventory value equals average cost per unit times number on hand. Average cost per unit equals the total cost of units divided by numbers received. So now let's do some examples. So Sam's beauty store has an inventory of lipstick. On May 31st, the last day of the month, Sam's Beauty had 57 lipsticks in stock. What is the value of the ending inventory for May using the average cost valuation method, round up to the nearest dollar? So our first step is we need to find the total cost of units. So to find the total cost of units, we're just going to sum of all the total cost. So that's our last column in our table. We're going to add all those numbers together, and we get that our total cost of units is $3,022.80. So now our second step is to find the total units received. So to do that, we're going to sum all of the units received. That's our second column, is we're just going to sum up all the numbers in our second column there for units received. And when we add that together, we get 349. So now step 3 is find the average cost per unit. So to find our average cost per unit, we're going to take the total cost of units divided by the units received. So our total cost of units is what we solved in step 1, and our units received is what we solved for in step 2. Plug our numbers in there. Do our division of 3022.80 divided by 349. Remember, we're working with money, so we want to round to the nearest cent. And we get that the average cost per unit is $8.66. So now step 4 is finding the inventory value. So to find the inventory value, we're taking our average cost per unit, which is what we just solved for, times the number that we have on hand. So if we look back at our example, it says on the last day of the month they have 50 lipsticks in stock. So we're going to take our average cost, multiply by 57, and we get $493.62. So that means that we want to round to the nearest dollar. If we go back to our question that says round to the nearest dollar, so the value of the ending inventory of May is $494 for those 57 lipsticks that we have on stock. So let's do another one. Easy Access Technology has an inventory of Blu-ray DVD players. On April 30th, the last day of the month, Easy Access had 124 DVD players in stock. What is the value of the ending inventory for April using the average cost valuation method round up to the nearest dollar? So we need to do the same thing we did before. So step 1, remember, is to get our total cost. So we're going to take our far right column there and we're going to add all of our total costs together. And we get $17,795.12. Step 2 is we're going to find the total units received. So remember, that's our second column where it says units received. We're going to add those four numbers together. When we add them together, we get 352. Step 3 is we need to find our average cost per unit. So in order to do that, we're going to take our total cost of units, which we got in step 1, divided by our units received that we got in step 2. And when we do that division, remember we want to round to the nearest cent since we're dealing with money. We get $50.55 is the average cost per unit. So now step 4 is we want to find the inventory value. So we're going to take that average cost that we just found of $50.55, multiply by the number on hand, which if you look back at the problem, it says that there are 124 DVD players on hand. Do our multiplication, we get $6,268.20. Then if we look at our question again, the very last sentence says round up to the nearest dollar. So we want to round this to the nearest dollar. So when we round to the nearest dollar, we get that the value of the ending inventory of April is $6,269. So now go ahead, pause the video, see if you can do this problem for Sam's Beauty Store and find what the average cost valuation is. Alright, now that you've had a chance to do it, let's go ahead and go over it. So Sam's Beauty Store has an inventory of lipstick on May 31st, the last day of the month. Sam's Beauty had 103 lipsticks in stock. What is the value of the ending inventory for May using the average cost valuation method? Round to the nearest dollar. So remember, we gotta first find the total cost, so you add up that last column of total cost, then find the units received, add up the second column there of the number of units received. Then step 3 is to find the average cost per unit. So we take step 1's answer divided by step 2's answer. We get $8.66. Then we find the inventory value. So we take the average cost per unit, multiply by the number on hand, which is 103 and then we need to round to the nearest dollar. So the value of the ending inventory of May is $892. So now let's talk about FIFO, first in, first out. The first in, first out method assumes that the oldest merchandise is sold first. Therefore, the most recent items purchased remain in inventory. So an example, Eleanor's Beauty uses the FIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of the ending inventory. The table records the number of units received in the month of May. On May 31st, they sold 207 mascara. What was the cost of goods sold? So, if we look, we need to create a new table of units sold and the total cost for those. So, our units sold on May 4th is, because we're doing FIFO first in, first out, they're going to sell the number of units that they have on May 4th. So we received 59 on May 4th, so we're going to sell 59 on May 4th. And then when we do our multiplication of 59 times the unit cost, we get a total cost of $481.44. So now we need to figure out how many units we have. So we sold a total of 207 in May. We're going to subtract out the number we sold on May 4th, which is 59. And we end up with they still sell 148 more in the month. So now if we look at May 11th, we received a total of 135. Well, that's less than the 148. So that means on May 11th, we sell 135. Multiply by the unit cost to get the total cost of $1,220.40. So now we need to figure out for that last week, the week of May 18th, how many more can we sell since we just sold 135. So we're going to take how many we have left and we're going to subtract out. We have a total of 207 that we sold. We're going to subtract how many total we've sold. So we've sold 59 the first week and 135 the second week. So when we subtract that, we get that there's only 13 units left that we can sell, because we only sold 207, so we only have 13 more to sell. So if we look, there was 61 that we received on May 18th, but we can only sell 13 of them. So the units sold on May 18th is 13. Multiply that by the 868, and we get 112.84. So now the cost of goods is, we're going to total the cost of units sold. So we're going to add up that right column now, and we get that the cost of goods is $1,814.68. So the cost of goods sold is $1,814.68 for that month of May. Alright, so let's do an example. Justin's Wireless uses the FIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of the ending inventory. The table records the number of units received in the month of June. On June 30th, they sold 194 wireless keyboards. What was the cost of goods sold? So, let's go ahead and set up our table for the units sold. So we're going to start filling it in. So, June 3rd, we received 68 units, so we can sell 68 units on June 3rd. Multiply our units sold times the unit cost, and we get a total cost of $3,307.52. Now we need to figure out how many more can we sell in this month. Well, we sold a total of 194. So we're going to take the 194, subtract out the 68 that we sold in the month, so we can still sell 126 more. So if we look at how many units we received on June 10th, we received 118 on June 10th. That's less than the 126. So that means we can sell all of our units that we did on June 10th. So we sold 118 times the 4908, and we get a total cost of $5,791.44. So now we need to find out how many more can we sell since we sold 68 and we sold 118. How many more can we sell since we sold only a total of 194? So if we take our 194 and we subtract the total number that we've already sold is 186 when we add 68 and 118. So we can only sell 8 more. So that means on June 17th of the 95 we received, we only sell 8. So then when we get that total cost for June 17th is $390.56. So now we finally can figure out our cost of goods sold. We're just going to add up that right column of our total cost values, and we get that our cost of goods is $9,489.52. So that is what our cost of goods is for the wireless keyboards for Justin's Wireless. Ending inventory for FIFO. So now Eleanor's Beauty uses the FIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of the ending inventory. The table records the number of units received in the month of May. On May 31st, they sold 207 mascara. What was the value of the remaining inventory? So the first step is we need to find the total inventory. So the total inventory is the sum of the units received. So we're going to add up the units received column, and we get that we received a total of 255 in the month of May. Next, we need to find the remaining inventory. So we're going to take our total inventory and we're going to subtract out the number we sold. So if you look back in the problem, it says we sold a total of 207 mascara. So we're going to take the total inventory of 255, subtract the 207, and we get our remaining inventory is 48. Step 3 is we're going to find the value of the remaining inventory. So the value of the remaining inventory is the remaining inventory times the unit cost of our ending inventory. So that's our last cost there in our unit cost. So the May 18th unit cost is $868. Multiplied that by the 48 we have remaining, and we get that we have $416.64. So the value of the remaining inventory is $416.64. So let's do another example. Eleanor's Beauty uses the FIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of the ending inventory. The table records the number of units received in the month of May. On May 31st, they sold 186 brushes. What was the value of the remaining inventory? Well, first step is we need to find the total inventory. So we're going to add up the number that we received. So we received a total of 247 units of inventory. Then we need to find the remaining. So we're going to take our total of 247, subtract out the number we sold, which if you look back in the problem, it says we sold 186 brushes. So we're going to take 247 minus that 186, and we get that we still have 61 in stock. So now we're going to find the value of the remaining inventory. So we're going to take our remaining inventory of 61. We're going to multiply by the unit cost on May 19th, since that's the end of our table, so that 494. So we're going to take 61 times the 494, and we get $301.34. So that means that the value of the remaining inventory is $301.34. So now go ahead, pause the video, and see if you can solve this one about Justin's wireless. Alright, now that you've had a chance to solve it, let's go ahead and figure it out. What was the cost of the goods sold? So we have 68 that we received on June 3rd, so we can sell that many. It's our total cost is when we multiply the two together. Now we need to figure out how many we have. So we have 194 is how many we sold minus the 68 we received. So we have a total of 126 left to sell. So we have 118 that we can sell June 10th. Get our total cost. Now we need to see how many more we can sell. So we take the 194 minus the amount we've already sold, and we can still sell 8. So that means for June 17th we sell 8. Multiply that together. Add up our total cost that we now have in our table, and the cost of goods sold is $9,489.52. Last in, first out method now, LIFO. The LIFO method assumes that the most recently purchased merchandise is sold first, therefore the oldest units are still on hand at the end of the period. Justin's Wireless uses the LIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of the ending inventory. The table records the number of units received in the month of June. On June 30th, they sold 232 wireless keyboards. What was the cost of goods sold? So we're going to go ahead, create a cost of goods table. So now we're going to start at the end of the month. So we sell the oldest ones first, the newest ones first. So the ones that we got in last is the ones we sell first. So we're going to start at the end of the month with June 17th. We sell all 95 of those. And we get our total cost. So now we need to figure out how many more can we sell. Well, we had a total of 232. We're going to subtract the 95 we sold. So we still sell 137 more. So June 10th we got in 118, so that means we're going to sell all 118 for a profit of a total cost of $5,791.44. Next, we need to figure out how many we can still sell. So we're going to take our total sold minus the number that we've already sold. So we now have that we can still sell 19. So that means of the 68 we received on June 3rd, we're only going to sell 19. For a total cost of $924.16. So now we can find our cost of goods by adding up our total cost, and we get our cost of goods is $11,353.50. So that means our cost of goods sold is $11,353.50. And now the ending inventory for LIFO. Eleanor's Beauty uses the LIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of the ending inventory. The table records the number of units received in the month of May. On May 31st, they sold 216 brushes. What was the value of the remaining inventory? So let's go ahead and find the total inventory. So we add up the total numbers that we received. So our total units received is 247. Now we need to find the remaining inventory. So we sold 216 brushes. So we're going to subtract that from our total of 247. So we have a remaining inventory of 31. Find the value of our remaining inventory. So we're going to take the remaining inventory times the unit cost of our ending inventory. So 31 times, now remember, since we're doing LIFO, we sell the last ones first. So we're going to go and we're going to use the unit cost of our first ones that we received in. So the ones we received on May 5th, which is 467 is our unit cost to get our value of our remaining inventory. It's different than the FIFO method. 144.77. So our remaining inventory is 144.77. So another example is Eleanor's Beauty uses the LIFO method. Table records it. On May 31st, they sold 207 mascara. What was the value of the remaining? So we find the total inventory. So we add up the units received and we get that we had 255 received. Find how many we have remaining. So we're going to take that 255 total, subtract the 207 that we sold. So we have 48 remaining. Then we're going to find the value of the remaining inventory. So remember, since we are doing LIFO method, we use the beginning of the month's unit cost. So we're going to use that 816. If we were doing FIFO, it would be the last one, the 868. But because we're doing LIFO, we use the very first one of 816. Multiply 48 and 816 and we get 391.68. So the value of the remaining inventory is $391.68. So that is the end of our asynchronous recording. So what you're going to do now is go back to the announcement of asynchronous activities and click on the check for your understanding, and you're going to answer the questions for your check for your understanding to get your credit for this. If you're still having questions, feel free to contact me.